Whether you're a tech enthusiast, industry professional, or just curious about the future of AI Agents Unleashed will keep you informed and inspired. Buckle up and get ready to unleash the potential of AI.
Ever feel like those you might also like suggestions, they just miss the mark? Like, okay, yeah, I've listened to that artist before, but it's like they don't get why I like them. It's so frustrating. But imagine if there was a recommendation system that actually understood like the reasons behind your choices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we're diving into today with this research paper we found called Knowledge Graph Enhanced Language Agents for Recommendation.
It's a really cool concept. Instead of just looking at what you've bought or clicked, the system actually tries to like grasp your underlying preferences. You know?
Okay, I'm intrigued. But before we get too far, can we break down what a language agent actually is? I feel like that's kind of key here.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Think of a language agent like a digital assistant, you know?
Yeah.
But like one that understands like actual human language.
Okay.
And in this case, it's the part of the system that's actually making the recommendations. But, you know, it needs the right information to do it well.
So it's like the language agent is the brains behind the recommendations, but it needs like something to feed it insights, right?
Exactly.
And that's where these knowledge graphs come in.
Exactly. Knowledge graphs are like giant webs of information.
Yeah.
They connect like things and concepts in meaningful ways.
Okay.
In this paper, the knowledge graph connects users, items, features, brands, categories, like basically everything involved in the recommendation process.
Got it.
It's pretty comprehensive.
So instead of just knowing like you like pop music, it might connect that to, I don't know, like you enjoy empowering lyrics or catchy melodies or whatever.
Yeah, that's the idea. It's about adding this layer of understanding that goes beyond simple categories.
I like it. Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here, but how does it actually work in practice? The paper mentions this thing called path extraction, right?
Yes, path extraction is the first step. The system searches the knowledge graph for paths that connect you to different items.
Okay.
And these paths, what they do is they reveal the underlying reasons for your choices.
So, like, let's say I mentioned liking a meditation app. Would the system find a path? Like, user mentions garden, garden described as peaceful, item is a meditation app.
Yeah, exactly. And that path suggests you might be drawn to, like, relaxation and mindfulness, which is way more insightful than just knowing that you downloaded the app.
Right.
It gives you a much deeper understanding.
That's so cool. But, like, how does the system make that leap from that kind of, like, technical path to something the language agent can understand?
That's where path translation comes in. So these complex paths, which are basically just strings of data, get translated into, like, natural language that the language agent can actually grasp.
Okay.
So it's like a translation process.
So instead of a jumble of data, the language agent gets something like, you mentioned enjoying gardens, which are often associated with peace. This meditation app could offer a similar sense of calm, something like that.
Yeah, precisely. It transforms those like technical relationships into, you know, meaningful statements that can guide the recommendations.
Wow. It's like giving the language agent a cheat sheet to like understanding my preferences.
Exactly.
And then the final step is path incorporation, where this translated knowledge is actually used to generate recommendations.
Exactly. The system takes all those insights from the translated paths and uses them to suggest items that like really align with your deeper preferences.
So does all this actually lead to better recommendations? Did they like test this out?
They did. The researchers tested this approach on 3 datasets: CDs, clothing, and beauty products.
Okay.
And across the board, these knowledge graph enhanced language agents, or KGLAs, outperformed the like traditional methods.
Interesting. So we're not just talking about like a cool idea. It actually delivered like measurable results.
Yeah. And the results were significant, too. They saw up to a 95% improvement in accuracy, which is huge.
Okay. Color me impressed. I'm really starting to see how this could like change the game for recommendations. But can you give us a more like concrete example of how this plays out in a real world scenario?
Absolutely. Let's take music recommendations as an example. Imagine you've mentioned liking music with features like garden, sultry, chick, and sensual.
Okay.
Now, a basic system, it might just put you in a broad pop category and kind of leave it at that.
Right, but that doesn't really capture the nuances of like what you're actually looking for.
Exactly. But by using a knowledge graph, the system can actually connect those like seemingly disparate features and find deeper connections.
Okay.
It might discover that garden is often associated with a sense of peace and tranquility, while words like sultry and sensual, you know, point to a preference for emotionally evocative music.
So instead of recommending like just generic pop hits, it might suggest artists known for their soulful vocals and introspective lyrics.
Exactly. Songs that capture that specific blend of vibes that you're drawn to.
Gotcha.
That's the power of understanding the why, It leads to recommendations that are truly personalized and insightful.
Okay, I'm sold on the concept. But how does this new approach compare to like other ways of using language agents in recommendations?
That's a great question. The researchers actually compared KGLA to several other approaches, including like a basic language agent and a model that only used the user's profile information. And you know what? The KGLA approach, it blew the competition out of the water.
Wow.
It really showed that incorporating these knowledge graphs, it makes a huge difference.
It's amazing to see how adding that like extra layer of context can lead to such dramatic improvements.
Right.
But I'm also curious, are there any like potential drawbacks or challenges to using this approach?
That's a really important question. While KGLA has like enormous potential, there are definitely like, some things to consider.
Okay.
One challenge is like the sheer scale and complexity of knowledge graphs. Building and maintaining these massive networks of information, it's a big task.
Right. It's not like you can just snap your fingers and have all the world's knowledge organized,
Yeah. Exactly. It requires a lot of data, careful curation, and constant updates. You got to make sure the information stays relevant.
So while the results are impressive, there are definitely like practical considerations when it comes to actually implementing this technology, like, on a large scale.
Absolutely. And another thing to keep in mind is that the success of KGLA, it really depends on the quality of the knowledge graph itself.
Right.
If the knowledge graph has like inaccurate or incomplete information,
Yeah.
it's going to affect the recommendations.
That makes sense. So garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Exactly. It's not just about having a knowledge graph. It has to be a good one.
Right.
And that actually brings us to another interesting aspect that's highlighted in the paper.
Okay.
The researchers really emphasize the importance of making the knowledge graph information like easily comprehensible to the language agent.
Now, why is that so important?
Well, imagine trying to like teach someone something new by just like throwing a textbook at them and saying, figure it out. It's unlikely they'll grasp the concepts effectively without like proper guidance and context.
Okay, that's a great analogy. So how do they make this like complex information like digestible for the language agent?
They use something called a path translation module. It essentially acts as a translator between the complex world of like data and the more nuanced world of human language.
Okay, so can you walk us through like how that works?
Sure. Let's go back to our meditation app example.
Okay.
Instead of the system saying, user mentions garden, garden described as peaceful, item is meditation app, which is kind of clunky.
Yeah.
The path translation module would convert that into a more, natural sounding statement.
Okay.
Like, you mentioned enjoying gardens, which are often associated with tranquility and peace. This meditation app could provide you with a similar sense of calm.
That makes a lot more sense. It's like taking a complex equation and like breaking it down into like, simpler terms.
Exactly. And this transformation, it's crucial because it allows the language agent to actually understand the relationships and make more informed recommendations.
It's fascinating to see how much thought and effort goes into like bridging that gap between data and human understanding.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious about like, what are the researchers' thoughts on the potential implications of this technology beyond just recommendations? Do they see like KGLA having a wider impact?
Oh, they definitely do. The paper touches on the idea that this approach could be applied to various domains where like understanding the why behind choices is crucial.
Okay.
Think about like healthcare, for example.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting application. Like how so?
Imagine a system that could understand your lifestyle, your medical history, even your emotional state.
Okay.
And then use that information to provide like a truly personalized health advice.
So instead of just getting like generic tips on healthy eating, the system could actually tailor its recommendations to like my, specific needs and preferences.
Yeah, precisely. It could suggest like recipes that are not only healthy, but also appeal to your cravings, or recommend exercises that are both beneficial and enjoyable for you.
It's like having a personal health coach, but like one that truly gets you.
Exactly. And the potential doesn't stop there. Think about education. What if educational tools could tailor, like, content to your specific learning style and goals?
Oh, that would be a game changer for students who, like, struggle with traditional learning methods.
Absolutely. It
Mhm.
could make education so much more engaging and effective. And beyond healthcare and education, imagine, like, smart homes that can anticipate your needs, based on your mood, the weather, even your recent conversations.
Okay, so I'm picturing my smart home, like adjusting the lighting and temperature to create like the perfect ambiance for the evening.
Yep.
Or even suggesting a movie that like, matches my current mood.
Precisely. It's about moving beyond simple automation
Yeah.
and creating systems that can truly empathize and adapt to our individual needs and preferences.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a new era where technology understands us on a much deeper level.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
But like, as with any powerful technology, I imagine there are also concerns about like potential misuse or like unintended consequences, right?
You're absolutely right. While the potential benefits are super exciting, it's crucial to be mindful of the ethical implications as well.
Okay.
One concern is, the potential for these systems to reinforce existing biases.
That's a valid point. If the knowledge graph itself is biased, it could lead to like, unfair or discriminatory recommendations.
Exactly. And even if the knowledge graph is unbiased, there's still a risk of these systems being used to, like, manipulate or exploit users.
Right. So like a company could use this technology to target like vulnerable individuals with, personalized ads
Yeah.
or recommendations that prey on their insecurities.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to have open discussions about the ethical implications of this technology and to develop safeguards to ensure it's used responsibly.
It seems like a delicate balancing act, harnessing the power of this technology while also protecting individuals and making sure it's used for good.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's a conversation we need to have as a society as we move into this new era of intelligent systems.
Well, I have to say, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the technical details of KGLA to its potential applications, and even like the ethical considerations.
It's been a fascinating exploration for sure.
I completely agree. Now, before we wrap things up, I wanted to like circle back to the paper and highlight a few more interesting points that like stood out to me.
Yeah, please do. I'm always eager to delve deeper into, the nuances of this research.
One thing that caught my eye was the researchers' breakdown of how different types of information contribute to the system's overall accuracy.
Right.
They talked about the importance of both 2-hop and 3-hop paths in the knowledge graph.
Yes, that's a fascinating insight. Essentially, a hop refers to a connection between two entities in the knowledge graph. So like a 2-hop path would connect you, the user, to an item through a single intermediary entity, like, a genre or a feature.
So for instance, user, genre, movie would be a 2-hop path.
Precisely. A 3-hop path would involve two intermediary entities.
Got it.
Such as user, feature, genre, movie.
Okay, I'm following so far. And the researchers found that both types of paths played a role in, like, improving recommendations.
Yes, they discovered that incorporating both 2-hop and 3-hop information led to the most accurate and personalized recommendations.
So it's not just about, like, the direct connections between, like, me and the item,
Right.
but also about those, like, more indirect relationships that can reveal, like, hidden preferences.
Precisely. It highlights the importance of, like, looking beyond the surface and exploring the intricate web of connections within the knowledge graph.
It's like those 6 degrees of separation games. You might be surprised by the, like, unexpected connections that emerge when you start, like, digging deeper.
That's a great analogy.
Mm.
And it speaks to the power of knowledge graphs in uncovering those hidden relationships that would be difficult to identify using traditional methods.
Now, one final point I wanted to touch on is the issue of data volume. Knowledge graphs can be massive,
Huge.
containing like billions of entities and relationships. How did the researchers address the challenges of processing and analyzing such like vast amounts of data?
That's a crucial consideration, especially when it comes to, like, real world application.
Right.
They were very strategic in their approach. Instead of, overwhelming the language agent with all the raw data from the knowledge graph, they developed techniques to simplify and condense the information before passing it on.
So they essentially created a more like focused and digestible summary of the like relevant information.
Exactly. And that's crucial for making these systems scalable and efficient.
Right.
Imagine trying to drink from a fire hose. You'd be overwhelmed and wouldn't be able to process the information effectively.
Yeah. It's like giving the language agent a carefully curated selection of the most relevant insights
Right.
instead of like drowning it in a sea of data.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's about finding that like sweet spot between comprehensiveness and conciseness.
Well, I think we've covered a truly remarkable amount of ground today. We've explored the potential of knowledge graphs to revolutionize recommendation systems, delved into the technical details of how these systems work, and even pondered the broader societal implications of this technology.
It's been a really fascinating deep dive.
I completely agree, and I have a feeling this is just the beginning. As knowledge graphs continue to evolve and become more sophisticated, I'm excited to see how they'll shape our digital experiences and the world around us.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're, at the start of something big here. The potential applications are just vast. Yeah. And it's exciting to think about how this could reshape how we interact with information and technology in general.
It is. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about all the possibilities. What aspects of this research stand out to you the most?
I think for me, it's the potential to transform, not just what we're recommended, but how we interact with information in general. Imagine, search engines that don't just understand the keywords, but, the intent behind your query.
Right.
Or educational tools that adapt to your specific learning style and goals, and provide a truly personalized learning experience.
Yeah, it's like having a personal guide that can sift through all that information out there and present you with exactly what you need in a way that makes sense to you.
Precisely. And that's a future I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
A future where technology works in harmony with our, individual needs and preferences.
I'm right there with you. It's been an amazing journey exploring this cutting-edge research. Thanks for being our guide through the fascinating world of knowledge graphs and recommendation systems.
The pleasure was all mine. It's always fun to, dive into these thought-provoking topics and explore how technology can, improve our lives.
And to all our listeners, we hope this deep dive got you thinking about the future of recommendations. What other aspects of our lives could be enhanced by systems that, understand the why behind our choices? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Join the conversation on social media, and let's keep exploring these exciting possibilities. Until next time, keep diving deep.